Hey everybody, huge thank you for being here. Thank you for all the kind words in the comments, and just happy Tuesday. It's Octa Tuesday, and thank you all for being here. So let's jump in and see what I see today. Again, sometimes I get accused of slinging too much optimism and hope, but I know where the future is going. I know it's extremely bright, so sometimes I can't contain myself. And today I've got a whole bunch of very interesting observations to share with you all. So let's jump in and let's not waste any time. Today it's brought to you by white tea, I think. I don't know what's in my cup. Math, money, freedom, and none of this is financial advice. Okay, you know that by now. So let's look at this. Hello, institutions. I did say Q1 would be huge. Had a whole bunch of information coming in from some very high net worth, very well connected Wall Street people. And here we go. Here is the evidence. The number of 13F SEC files mentioning Bitcoin by quarter. Okay. This is just fresh off the press. Now, I call this the hello world moment. The SEC Form 13F, for those who don't know, who aren't from the space, is a quarterly report that is required to be filed by all institutional investment asset managers with at least $100 million in assets under management. It discloses their equity holdings and can provide insights into what smart money is doing in the market. This blew up in Q1 2022 from 58 mentions in Q4 2021 to 160 in Q1 2022. That's a 2.75x. Unbelievable. This proves everything we've been saying, that the big money is buying, the smart money is in. 160 new asset managers with over $100 million are in the game with Bitcoin right now. If that's not the most bullish thing I've shared all year, actually I've shared a whole bunch of bullish things, but that is crazy, crazy, crazy. So excuse me for being a little bit excited. Did promise you, didn't let you down. So let's go. Next thing, the Bitcoin Liquid Index. I always try and identify patterns and see things that sometimes people don't see, or I try and complete their thoughts. But this is where we are. So if we look at the different bull runs from the time of the halving to the time of the peak, what I did to simple illustrate it, I added little green arrows to help train your eyes where to look on this chart, because it is a bit of a night chart. And I added red arrows to indicate where the peak is. Okay, so the first observation is, where's the third red arrow? Well, it's missing. Okay, so we haven't peaked, and that means we haven't hit the top, which means we are probably still in a bull run. No guarantees, but probably highly likely. Second thing, if you look at the extension of the time frame from the halving 1 to halving 2 to halving 3, ignore the very first halving, it doesn't really count because it was so early in the time of Bitcoin. But here, the first one was 1 green arrow. I measured it out and doubled it up. Second one, 2 green arrows. Third one, the time between halving 3 and peak number 3, we don't know yet. We don't know where the peak is. Is it going to be 3 green arrows? If it is, it's got to hit over the next 4 to 6 weeks. If we're going to 4 green arrows, which is a doubling, which is also per history, we could go out till very late this year. So I thought that was another interesting one to share. And it is the million-dollar question. Is it going to be 3 of those little green arrows or 4? So I thought that was interesting. We will monitor this carefully and see exactly what happens. So again, we'll see. Now, for those classic TA people, we just had a classic inverse head and shoulders. Now, I took the Bitcoin chart and added a green luminous line so you could again see what an inverse head and shoulders looks like. If you flip it upside down, it's a head and shoulders. So that's a pattern you can reel with. And typically, an inverse head and shoulders, it is inverted with the head and shoulders top, is used to predict reversals in downtrends. That's what this is for. And it is a bullish sign. Now, the pattern is identified when the price action of Bitcoin or any other asset has those characteristics, which I drew in there. Now, typically, the price falls again after the second trough, and then it bounces. We're in that bounce phase right now, everybody. And we'll see where we go. But literally, this is another extremely bullish TA sign. But we all know TA is astrology for grown men. We don't know if it's going to hold, but very, very bullish. And right before I started the stream, everything exploded. Ethereum shut up. over 100 points. Solana did as well. A lot of other names are going crazy. I don't have the pump. I wish I had the pump. But I don't want to pierce it too, because we are still in a very sensitive area because of some other stuff that's going on. Let's look at this one. This is another one. This is kind of the topic for today is RSI. And as you guys know, RSI is a very, very important technical indicator. So doing a little digging here, this is a little bit inspired as well by some people out there on Twitter. They're talking about RSI today, Plan B especially. I'm not going to talk about Plan B because now he's saying $100,000 Bitcoin by 2023. So he's gone from being hyper bullish to very, very conservative. So I'm just going to leave that for now. But I am going to talk about this. This is the Bitcoin RSI moves. Now, the top of the chart is the Bitcoin price action. It's a log scale, so it's easier to put in the whole history of Bitcoin on one chart. At the bottom, I've drawn a green horizontal line, and this represents the RSI level of exactly where we are at today. Now, what I did as well is identified 5 spots in history where the RSI was at this level, and it came from 32 to 30 on the RSI bottom, which is the end of that purple box. And again, those 5 times, including a few little anomalies, which I'll talk to as well. So the first time this happened, this was in, 2012? We had a 5,000% gain. Second time was 8,000% in 2015, which rolled into 2016. Third time was 202% in 2019, which was kind of short-lived, not a big move. And then we were still in a kind of a bear market. We were pre-halving, etc., etc. So he can't really include that. But what is interesting is we had 53% gains in early 2020, which was cut short by C19. And we all remember March 2020, or Black Thursday. Then, right after March 2020, we went up 837% all the way through the balance of the year. And we had a minor 106% in October 2021, which feels like yesterday, even though it's 4 or 5 months ago at this stage. So here we are. The question marks are here per that line that has the question marks above it in the yellow box. We don't know what's going to happen next, but 5 times in the past, every time the RSI has been at these levels, it's yielded a very, very strong result. So worst case scenario, maybe if history repeats, 100%. Best case scenario, 8,000. You're not going to get 8,000%, of course, but I thought that was very interesting to look at. Again, extremely bullish. So let's look about some bullish crossovers. This is a red and white linear regression model indicating a very bullish crossover. Again, that's only happened a couple of times since October 2020. This is from Caleb Franson on Twitter, and I thought it was very nice representation. Now, these red and white indicators use linear regression analysis to measure the slope of the regression on different time frames, i.e. slow versus fast, just like any oscillator that we use out there. Now, crossovers are typically bullish, bearish, depending on the direction. And you can see here, we had an unclear crossover in the past that happened about 6 months ago, 8 months ago. But the green bullish crossovers have been very strong indicators. And the 2 red ones, the bearish ones, have also been very good indicators so far. So right now we are exactly at the point when Bitcoin went about 42,300. We hit that third bullish crossover since 2020. So we'll monitor this carefully. Again, more bullish TA indicators, but you can't take TA money to the bank if some whale comes in and decides to dump 1 million Bitcoins tomorrow. After, obviously, the market's going to tank. So that's where we are. Let's talk about short-term hodlers. Now, I feel bad. I'm going to word with these short-term hodlers for a second. I've noticed December, January, a lot of people got really upset, really frustrated, late to the party in November, bought at the all-time high, lost money, and are sad. Some people just gave up the game entirely, just sold out, said, I can't deal with this anymore, it's too painful, let me just pass my money to some financial advisor or buy an S&P index or something else. This is sad. Timing is everything in the investment game. But remember, even if you're to buy at the all-time high, it doesn't mean it's game over. The future is still very bright. So let's talk about short-term holders and where they are today, because these are the people that I'm on the receiving end of a lot of pain from. So this is short-term holders means typically coins that are younger than 155 days old. And currently about 18% of the supply is outside of exchange reserves. And of that, 7.2% of the 18% has recently turned to an unrealized profit during the price rally to $44,000 today. Now, this indicates that about 1.17 million Bitcoin were spent, assumed to have changed hands, and as the prices traded between 33,500, where we went in hard, and 44,000, in other words, these people are now making profit. So I do hope, the reason I'm sharing this is I do hope some people have some hope. Again, everything can change very quickly in this space. In a matter of 3 or 4 weeks, people have gone from almost jumping out of the window to, ooh, I'm making a profit again. So just hang tight. It's number go up technology. As long as you got patience, you're going to be just fine. So that's where we are. Now, there's a lot of talk as well, a lot of chatter out there all over the place about the spot ETF being approved. That is a Bitcoin spot ETF. And this was talked about incessantly last year. Futures ETF was launched. Gary Gensler said he'd give the spot ETF a shot once the futures ETF was out. And lots of delays in approvals have been listed over the past couple of weeks, which is a very good sign. So I'm still very confident in my June, looking good. And now folks are calling for buy GBTC. It's 25% off. So I hope it's not a grayscale marketing ploy, but a lot of that chatter is out there. And GBTC has been hurting. That's the chart you can see with the discount. But if they are going to approve the spot ETF 4 or 5 months from now, and you can get 25% off your Bitcoin, even with the 2% management fee, you're covered for 12 years. So that's the GBTC news. Now let's talk about where we are today with the chart. So Bitcoin, as I speak right now, is at, hold on a second, let me pull out the real-time quote, 3 fours in a row. Wow. If I was Chinese and superstitious, I'd say that's death, 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 but it's not. So don't worry, but we're at 44,428 and 45K is the resistance. We've tapped up against this twice already. And as I talk about, sometimes you got to hit the glass 3 times to break it. That 45K is like a glass ceiling. And if we hit it, if we take a third run at it, we might be able to break through. And that could happen tonight. So we'll see. Now, we did know, we spoke about a lot for a long time. We knew once we got to 42K, what I call the second step, it's easy to get to 45 because there's no sell wall in that area. But now we just need to break through that 45K. And once we do, we're going straight to 52. Maybe, but that's what I see in the numbers out there. Now, this is another interesting one from Deutsche Bank. They had a new HODL report, a new study. And it was kind of fascinating. They interviewed about 3,500 people who were surveyed and asked them what they would do with their crypto holdings. And what would they do even if crypto holdings fell, the price of crypto fell by 80%? So the result of the survey, way in excess of 50% of the people said they would HODL, which is hold on for dear life. And that philosophy has been around for a long time. But that was very positive too. Again, as far as I'm concerned, there's no shame in selling, taking profits, etc., as many have done. But if you look at what's going on in the marketplace, the drainage is fierce. The accumulation by the whales is fierce. My very first slide today, the institutions are here, 3x'd since Q4 2021. They are playing in your sandbox. They're representing high net worth individuals and sovereigns and pension funds and everybody else. So hold on if you can. Now, because again, we're working on a study that will show our future price predictions for Bitcoin based on 3 or 4 different models, all compared, all using different laws of math. And it'll be very interesting to watch as we go forward. And a big thank you as well. Working on that right now, every day for nearly a week with Dr. Watson, which is exciting. Now let's talk about drainage. I know you're probably sick of me talking about drainage, but here, a mere 10.87% of Bitcoin is now left on exchanges. That is the purple downward line, all the way down. A big thank you to Santiment for putting this together. 608,000 Bitcoin have moved off the exchanges in the last 12 months. That is about 2,040, 2,080 a day, something like that. Every single day, over 2,000 Bitcoin are leaving the exchanges, and they haven't been coming back. It's like a Hotel California type of thing. Once you go in, you can't get out. So we'll see what happens. But to put things in perspective, the drainage continues. And the buying has been more intense as well with the lower prices as we go forward. This is another view of the Bitcoin drainage, part XIX. Now, the key thing to this particular chart here, again from Sentiment, thank you guys. Every time we get a massive Bitcoin drop of supply on exchanges, we get a big price pump. So if you look at my little red arrow, which I added to their graphic, and the red circle around the drop in supply on exchanges, you can see it's like a step. It's almost like a 2 or 3 step down, like my 2 or 3 steps up. But it's just been going down, 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 down. Big drop. And then the price went from $11,000 to $60,000 in a very short window of time. Part 2 is happening right now. And this hopefully will put things in perspective. Who knows what the pump would be? Would it be 200%, 300%, 55%? I don't know. But a pump is probably going to come because all of this is telling too much of a coherent story about extremely bullish sentiment. If I could find negative on-chain or negative TA, I would share it quicker than you would notice. Now, there is one thing, just to give people some caution. There's a lot of stuff out there that we are unsure of. Everybody's on the edge of their seat. But it's critical for us to stay above 42K, which I call step 2. If we fall below that, there is no safety net. And who knows, we could be back to January 24th levels of about 33,000. So there could be a free fall. So we've got to watch that 42 step level. If there are short-term traders out there, make sure you got a stop loss around 41,900 just in case. And I don't normally recommend stop losses, but if we do break this, which has become very good support over the last couple of days, it could be bad news. So hang tight. Now, the Mt. Gox trustee balance is another one of those little dark clouds, tiny dark cloud, not a big one. But just a reminder, the rehabilitation proceedings continue. And the metrics presenting the balance of coins held by the Mt. Gox trustee, Nobuyuki Kobayashi, are now out there in the public domain. And they did sell a bunch in 2017, 2018. That's the first tranche that went down. And now the balance of coins controlled by the Mt. Gox trustee stands at about 137,000, which is about 0.72% of the circulating supply. Now, I think there's only going to be 14 million Bitcoins because so much is lost. So call it 1% of the supply. That's how much this trustee holds. And it's not far off the amount that wallet number 3 hold and Michael Saylor. So that is another slight cloud, but I don't know when that's going to come on the market or be sold. But we'll watch for that too. Now, just as I was starting, Ethereum was exploding. Let's check exactly what Ethereum is doing right now. It's down about 17. It's taking a slight little breather, but it did a big move. I think Ethereum had about a 10% pump over the last 20 hours, which is a big move for that big asset. It's $500 billion asset almost. And perhaps the supply crunch is also happening to Ethereum because something else is also happening with Ethereum, which is good news. Watch this. Ethereum gas fees are the lowest they have been in a month. Thank you to the last note for this one. And this is the medium gas price, 7-day moving average. And it hit a 1-month low of about 75 Gwei, which is good. In fact, some people are scoring some ETH fees of like $30, $20, which is unheard of considering some people are paying $300 right before Christmas, including myself. Anyway, that's the ETH gas news, and maybe that is helping things a lot as well as we go forward. So let's talk about some more RSI, because we are talking about RSI today. If we look at the weekly chart on Solana, the RSI is at its low point, only achieved twice in history on the weekly. So that also tells us Solana is very oversold, even at this $100 level, which it actually just pumped as well right when I began, and currently the price is 104. So it's gone up $2 just in the last hour or so. So we'll watch that carefully as well. Again, the trend has been kind of down, but it might just turn around real soon. Let's talk about crypto miners, Bitcoin miners. They've been on fire, especially today. CleanSpark up 18.58%. And that's the top ranking. Number 2 is Mara, Hive number 3, Argo Blockchain number 4, and Riot number 5. Hut has been lagging behind. And it always kind of does that. I'm not sure why Hut does. Hut is a top quality name. My 2 favorite miners, as you know, from more fundamental analysis and hash rate and plans and projections and the amount they hodl and everything else, is now Hut number 1, CleanSpark number 2. but I still hold CleanSpark, and I held CleanSpark from 10 to 24 to 5. My mistake. That's why my most punishing failure last year was not selling above 20 for CleanSpark. Anyway, they had really good earnings a couple of days ago. They had a loss last year of about 32 cents a share. That pivoted to 35 plus cents profit, which is a big move. The revenue compared to a year ago, I think it was about $42 million compared to like $2 million a year ago. So they've really turned the ship around, become extremely profitable in a low amount of time. So they're going to be doing, I estimate, over $2 per share, maybe more, in earnings, which means trading at a sales price of $10 a share. The PE is 5, which is stupid cheap. It's one of the reasons we also like them. So I do believe it's going 20, 25, 30, 40, $40 potentially over the next year, especially if Bitcoin price rebounds. We're going to see this thing skyrocket. So I held, didn't sell. I was just too busy because it is a position, but it's not one of my big positions, and I just forgot about it. So anyway, won't make that mistake this year. Then the sector was heavily beaten down, but it rebounded, and I had total faith it would. And CleanSpark went up 50% over the last couple of days. Let's look at the chart real quick. One of the key things to point out about this chart, you can see, is the red line coming down. That's the 50-day moving average. We are back above that. We went above it yesterday. Took a bit of a dip, or 2 days ago, and now it's back above it again. So we'll see. This should hopefully bring about a good level of support for CleanSpark as we go forward. Now, Tesla. This is another interesting chart. This is from the Tesla Stevenson indicator on Twitter. He analyzed Tesla, and typically since the lows of, when was it, early 2000, Tesla has been adding about $1.69 a day in stock value price. Using that simple crude metric, we will be easily over $1,000 in May and over $1,200 in November, maybe a lot higher. So I'm still remain incredibly bullish on Tesla for a whole host of different reasons. There's no doubt in my mind that this is one of the best value stocks out there. And they have so many advantages over other ice makers. It's unbelievable. There's a lot of people now beginning to go short Tesla. There's a lot of people saying, oh, all the other car ice manufacturers are going to be delivering EVs. But they can't. It is so difficult to produce a car. Just listen to Hey Dave and his channel and all the goodness that's coming out of Tesla. They have 7 years of moats and advantages that cannot be caught. So remain very, very bullish on Tesla, despite the weakness right now out there in the marketplace. Now let's talk about fiat and how strong and how good it is to have it. So what does this chart tell you, ladies and gentlemen? This is the US real yields, the Fed funds effective rate less CPI. You are losing over 7% on your money when you hold fiat currency. Now, that is kind of staggering. Very staggering. So what this exactly means for investors, it means hundreds of trillions worth of capital in debt markets is mathematically guaranteed to lose money over time as the currency debases faster than the nominal interest payments debtors receive from creditors. Okay, so the message here, everybody, borrow. Borrow at a low fixed rate. Invest in things that generate more than 15, 20%. That's how you make money. Holding fiat is not the answer. My cash position is making me a little nervous right now, but hopefully I'll be able to fix that real soon. And finally, a good block, some good news from the politicians we have in office. This is a lady called Sarah Bloom Raskin. She's nominated to serve as vice chairwoman for bank supervision, and she had a lot of very aggressive plans. She is very pally, very good friends with Janet Yellen, and they want to block crypto. They want to block all types of use of fossil fuels. They want to block crypto mining. She's also very anti-fintech and very pro-central bank digital currency. So thank you, Republicans, for blocking this person. She would be bad news. She would kill Bitcoin mining, really hurt a lot of crypto stuff out there. So again, just a little too radical. I do believe it's important to protect the environment, but baby steps, not throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they say. With that, everybody, I hope you like the content. Thank you for being here. Nothing but good news as far as I can see. And appreciate you all for being here. And thank you to the mods in the chat and everybody else. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye. Oh, tomorrow, big one, by the way. Super, super exciting video. See ya.